Hey guys, today's information is from the Making of Return of the Jedi book. You guys know I love this book series all the way from The Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi. Some really interesting information here from the first three from the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. There are transcripts back from 1977, 1980, 1981, 1982, when George was making those three films. Things that we've never even heard or seen or know about except from in these books. And these conversations go into depth about literally everything to do with Star Wars. The creation, from the VFX or the limited VFX of that era, to the in-depth analysis of the characters and how the Force even works. And in today's video, we're going to go over a conversation George Lucas had about the Emperor, Luke, Vader, and his answer when he was asked about how the Force works and if it's in everyone or not. Here's his answer. So, George says, Anakin Skywalker started hanging out with the Emperor, who at this point nobody knew was that bad because he was an elected official. Was he a Jedi? Says Kasdan. No, he was a politician. Richard M. Nixon was his name. He subverted the Senate and finally took over and became an imperial guy, and he was really evil. But he pretended to be a really nice guy. He sucked Luke's father into the dark side. The Force was available to anyone who could hook into it? Yes, everybody can do it. Not just the Jedi. It's just the Jedi who take the time to do it. They use it as a technique. Like Yoda. If you want to take the time to do it, you can do it. But the ones that really want to do it are the ones who are into that kind of thing. Also, like karate. Also, another misconception is that Yoda teaches Jedi, but he is like a guru. He doesn't go out and fight anybody. So of course, this was before the prequels came out, before he had Yoda, spinning around, jumping off walls, doing 720 backflips, So he was more of a coach. And at this point, he wasn't really fighting anyone. I made another video in regards to this that continued on from this sentence, I believe, and it was where George was talking about if Yoda and Vader fought, who would win, and he actually said that Vader would destroy Yoda, which is so hard to believe, and I believe now we know that that would never happen, considering that George could make that story with today's technology, or even technology back when The Phantom Menace came out in 1999. Basically, once Jurassic Park came out, it changed the game for how you can tell and make stories through film. So, with what George said about everyone having the Force is something that a lot of people don't know about. There's a misconception that only Jedi are the ones who can use the Force. But in fact, every single entity in the galaxy has the ability to use the Force if they're into that sort of thing. It's like everyone can do karate, but they just have to be into it and to train for it and to learn it. Everyone can do MMA, everyone can learn a sport, but they just have to be into it. They have to take the time to practice and fail and try, and in turn, they'll get better and succeed. The Force works in the same way with everybody. Now, I will say there is something to be said about midichlorians, something to be said about Anakin Skywalker, and this will help you understand at least my theorization of it for all other Force users. Now, Anakin had a very high midichlorian count. His midichlorian count was 20,000, more than Master Yoda. Now, does this mean he was more powerful than Master Yoda? No. The way I look at it is that he had the proclivity. He had 20,000, let's say, units of this ability that could reach a higher potential if he actually trained his heart out and really, really went for it. It's like that old saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Well, what happens when talent works hard? Just destroys everybody in its path. And I feel like this would have been the case with Anakin had he not lost to Obi-Wan, and even losing to Obi-Wan and destroying himself and losing all of his, most of his Force abilities compared to what it could have been had he not lost and stayed in the light. Or heck, even stayed in the dark but just not lost to Obi-Wan, Anakin would have been the most powerful being in any Star Wars story, legends or canon, movie, show, anything. He would be on the level of Superman, just about. George has said that Anakin, had he reached his full potential, would have been twice as powerful as the Emperor. Now, with the ability for everybody to use the Force, I can now compare Anakin's high midichlorian count to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, Obi-Wan wasn't really great at being a Jedi. He wasn't great at using the Force. He must have had a lower midichlorian count, but what made him so great, what made him a master of Sorsu, which is a lightsaber fighting style that basically focuses on defense only, is that he was relentless. He was very into that thing, as George said. He was very into becoming a Jedi, very into learning the Force and how the Force works, and in turn, this is why he became such a powerful Force user and such a powerful Jedi Master. Now, was he the right choice for Anakin? No, he wasn't the right choice to teach Anakin. I believe Qui-Gon was, just as Dave Filoni has said. Now, this means that even Sebulba could use the Force if he really tried. It doesn't mean he would be really great at it. It doesn't mean everyone would have the same sort of affinity of the Force. They would have the same sort of potential, but it means that they could use the Force. Everyone can at least levitate or, use telekinesis at some stage. Maybe someone can raise a pencil and someone can raise, a house. Someone can raise a ship. But at the end of the day, all it takes is just practice and time. And this is, I think, what George is saying. And it was a lesson to kids, I believe, that George was trying to portray that you can do anything you want. Everyone can do anything they want. It is just a matter of wanting to do it and taking the time out to do it. And as we know, Star Wars was made for kids. And I know I'm going to get flack for that, but this is something George said himself. And if you look at episode 3, yes, it's a little bit dark and gruesome, but it's important for kids to see that, I believe, because they see what happens to you if you take the dark path, if you take the path that you shouldn't, if you focus on shortcuts, if you focus on selling your soul to the devil himself, like Palpatine, like George has called him, this is what can happen to you. If you focus on your anger and your jealousy and your selfishness and your greed, then you will fail and you will live a life of misery if you survive. Now, had Anakin not jumped, he would have survived and he would have probably beat Obi-Wan too. So, case in point, going back to what we were talking about, Anakin fighting Obi-Wan had the higher midichlorians, was potentially stronger had he trained just as much as Obi-Wan. If he was, let's say, Obi-Wan's same age, he would be 10 million times stronger than Obi-Wan Kenobi at that same age, but it was his arrogance, which in part is due to the dark side. You underestimate my power. This was exactly Anakin's problem, is that he thought he could beat Obi-Wan at Obi-Wan's same move that caused the demise of Darth Maul. And Obi-Wan knew this, he saw it, and he killed Anakin. Well, pretty much. And it was the same problem with Maul, where he was using his hubris to play around when he should have just finished off Obi-Wan Kenobi after killing the Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. He was the superior fighter, but he allowed his arrogance to get the best of him and ultimately lost everything. So yes, this does mean Sebulba can use the Force. This means Watto could use the Force, except just maybe not super well. His limited potential is, well, limited. He could really only go a certain amount, and what that amount is, well, I don't know, but from what George says here, that's what I take from it. But if you take the time to do it, you can do it. So everyone, if you're listening out there, if you want to do something, put your mind to it, put everything you have into it, and it will be done. You will achieve what you want, for the most part. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and the information within. Please leave a like if you did enjoy this kind of info. And let me know also in the comments below what you think of this, what you think of George saying that everyone can use the Force. It just depends if you're into it or not. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, remember the Force will be with you always.